Welcome to the Home Office Talks. Thanks for tuning in again. Today we want to talk about purpose. You may remember Simon Sinek's great and famous TED Talk about the big why and the golden circle over 10 years ago. Since then, there has been a lot of talk about what people and companies stand for. This is very much true also with the Millennials, so those born between about roughly 1980 and 2000. Many of them are university students, which is our focus today. In only 4 years, so by 2025, these so-called millennials will make up 75% of the global workforce. So ample reason to talk about what gets this generation up in the morning and what role different elements such as work-life balance or purpose plays. We actually asked you over the past days what you think and what you value most at your work. And nearly 800 people responded on Twitter and LinkedIn. Wow! We'll discuss these results shortly with our experts. And remember, keep typing in those questions and comments in the box down below. Here to talk today about the issue of work and how it has changed over the recent years is Mr. Klaus Peter Meier. Klaus has served as the CEO of Freudenberg Home and Cleaning Solutions, well known for its global brands like Vileda or Oceder, and he is currently Haribo Supervisory Board Member and Managing Director of the Dr. Hans Riegel Holding GmbH. Klaus is an experienced manager, and today he is with us in his capacity as the Honorary President of Enactus Germany, an amazing organization of students around the world with, as they say, a head for business and a heart for the world. Klaus will share more about Enactus shortly. With him is Mr. Hanno Brümmer, Global Head of Production and Technology for Polyurethanes at Covestro. The technology area he leads is the starting point for many young engineers and chemistry talents that join Covestro. As such, and I've seen him highly engaged, he's in talent development. Hanno is also an advisory board member of the European Institute of Industrial Leadership. And today, Hanno will talk about his own experience in working with young talents. So, let's see if we can get lines up to Düsseldorf and somewhere in southern Germany, close to Frankfurt. I forgot already the name of the town.
Hey, come on. Kelkheim.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you both, and thanks for joining. So, Klaus, as the president at Enactus, it's your job to go out and meet people and network. And in this regard, Corona must have been making an impact in your life. So, Klaus, how did you personally adjust to this new normal?
I think like most of the people in this talk, the number of telephone and video conferences has dramatically increased. I think networking is not so easy anymore, but as you see, new technologies allow us again to have almost private talks or let's say the possibility also to discuss very details and very much like in a normal personal meeting. On the other hand, we all need to learn that technology is not standing here. It will need to go up here and much further. So if I look at the digitalization of our events where we normally have 1,000 participants, now we make that out of a studio, and I'm surprised that you can reach 5, 10, 15,000 people via these new, let's say, formats. But to be honest, I'm also missing a little bit to meet students and to meet partners and discuss with them. And what I'm really missing is the energy and motivation which big groups can really provide to you. That's a little bit a sad thing.
Thanks, Klaus. Hanno, you are, of course, normally also a lot on the road for Covestro. How has your job changed during the last couple of months?
Yeah, hello, Nico. Good to see you again. Yes, of course, very similar. I have about, 15 sites in my production networks globally, and I would be traveling and meeting the people. Now, visits have been limited to very, very local visits. Very short, and after a visit I would always return to the home office where I've been pretty much since March. We also seen a very big push on digitalization, both technically but also from the people using it, exploring it. And some things actually changed from locations which are more remote, I actually have more frequent interactions, shorter, but more frequent. I would not wait one in a year or something until I get to this location. So these things have actually got a nice push on having a short, quick interaction, and always video. Used to be a lot of telephone, now it's always video, which helps a little bit. I agree with Klaus, being personally at a dinner cannot be replaced, but we make the best out of it. And other things have also nicely developed. I have more and more contacts to social media, like Instagram, which was also got really a push through this special situation.
So the world is certainly becoming more digital, and this must be already the 20th home office talk I'm doing from my home in Cologne. So the world is definitely changing. So let's now learn more about Enactus. It was founded in 1975 in the United States and has today more than 72,000 students worldwide as members. It's based in Germany since 2003, I've learned. So Klaus, can you share with our audience a little bit about what Enactus is all about?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to introduce Enactus. Enactus is a non-profit independent network of students, of business leaders, and of faculty advisors or faculty leaders who have one purpose together: to change the world to the better. We all believe in 4 basic principles. The one principle is we can change the world. The second principle is, in order to do that sustainably, we need innovation and entrepreneurship in order to come to ideas which have a character to really make things work. The third element is we believe in competition to learn fast, and therefore we create competitive setups in order to learn fast and give the best idea the chance to grow faster. And last but not least, we believe in the new generation of students, because honestly, my generation has done a lot in order to get the wealth up, but only for 1 billion people. We were not so successful in order to change the situation in the entire world. So the next generation has a big job to do, and we will do our utmost in order to prepare them for them. If you look at numbers, and you have shown already in the video a few, we are today 72,000 students in 36 countries at 1,700 universities who are working 3,800 projects a year. The impact is horrendous, but they couldn't do it if they would not have 550 companies who are helping them. They don't make the projects, they are only helping and supporting them. And more than 3,000 people are acting as business advisors or as faculty advisors. What does it mean? How is Enactus really working? By the way, here you see a World Cup scenario, and a World Cup means that the national champions once a year are meeting in one location or digitally. So these meetings are 10,000, 20,000 people who are really for one purpose together. Now, how is Enactus a team working? How is it really done? Now, if 10, 15, 20 US students want to build an Enactus team at the campus, they do that. They get then help, they get trained in order to understand how is the Enactus way of doing things work. So they learn what is a need assessment so that they are not creating products nobody wants. I think that's helpful sometimes. They are learning what leadership is all about, what project management is all about. And they are surrounded then and will be built up by a supervisory board who helps them to stay on track. But they are acting, not we are acting. Once a year, they are invited to a national competition. There, normally 30, 40 teams are competing, and the winner takes it all. He is then, as national champion, going to the World Cup. And just as inspiration, this year it was digital. The year before, we were in Silicon Valley. We were already also in London. We were in Johannesburg in South Africa and in China. So it is really a global organization, not something only in Germany or only in Europe. And it's founded in the US, just to make it very clear. And the headquarters is still also in the US. I want to end with 4 numbers, which I have looked at, because you asked me what is the impact of Enactus. And normally we report Enactus results per year based on the UN sustainability goals. We are a big supporter of them, a well-known supporter, and our impact is reported accordingly. And I have 4 numbers for you. One is we saved with the project of the students 5.9 million tons of CO2 last year. We were able to bring 1.7 million people to have now fresh drinking water and modern sanitation. We created about 300 businesses and 100 startups worldwide, and we created 15,000 new working places with a turnover of more than $100 million. That's students, just to make it clear, students.
Which is pretty impressive. Talk about purpose-driven work. And I think you already, Klaus, highlighted some of the benefits for the students to be a part of that network. Hanno, going over to you. Covestro and Enactus have had a strategic partnership since 2018. Why is it important for Covestro to get involved with student associations? What's so special about this partnership with Enactus?
Yeah, Nico, we have a network of contacts with leading universities and student organizations. And Enactus is, of course, one of them. We have the United Nations Young Champions of the Earth. We have the Unitech network, or the European Institute of Industrial Leadership, to name a few. And as I said, leading universities. Enactus, what Enactus stands for is very much aligned what also Covestro stands for. Our purpose is to make the world a brighter place. Our vision is to become fully circular. That is very much what's really in the heart of Enactus. And then you have the entrepreneurship of making business, starting business, making businesses successful. So for us, it's both. It's us supporting this idea, supporting those students, but vice versa, also interacting with the students and learning from them, learning what are their perceptions, what are their priorities, how does the next generation think and act. So it's really a mutual benefit that makes a difference for both sides, for the people on the Enactus side, but also for the Covestro side. And that's why it's for us highly interesting to engage with Enactus.
So, Hanno, can you give me a couple of examples? What would be some of the examples how we have enacted with Enactus?
The typical role that also Klaus mentioned is the business advisor. So a business advisor is an experienced person from our company that volunteers to become a part of a group, of a team that has a project around the world, usually a sustainability project, typical Enactus project. The business advisor is within Covestro, has most likely experience also in project management, how to start up certain things. So he can be a supporter, he can be a mentor for the team, exchanging, not controlling, not deciding, but be there as a partner. At the same time, as I said, for the advisor, it's very interesting to be engaged in a project that he or she would normally not maybe be engaged in, and learn also what is this project about, what are the difficulties they run in, put a new perspective, how do they think. So, and from that, being an advisor over many years with a project and making a project hopefully a success really establishes a relationship that also for the business advisor, you could say, is a development opportunity on the job.
That's true.
And I've seen, Hanno, some of the advisors and talked with some of the advisors from our part. So definitely they seem to be very thrilled about the window that is being opened to their world. Klaus, from your point of view, how is Covestro performing as a business advisor? Can you evaluate that from your point of view?
I will not evaluate, but I will for sure say we're very grateful for the commitment of Covestro, because you're serving most of the teams as business advisors. This is not normal. This is an exception. Normally, companies look for 2, 3, 4 teams, and that's it. You are supporting a lot of more teams. And what the students are saying, the feedback is basically Covestro seems to be unbureaucratic, helping that problems are solved, and that is great. Because you can be sure students are hungry, they are motivated, they are eager to do things faster than we normally would do things. But I think it is also important that they learn the reality and not forget their commitment or their will to achieve certain things. I'm also grateful to say you are not shy to open up your big network to the Enactus community, specifically to the students. And to make an example, we have very often technical problems. Take it, you have a team of 10, 15 people, half of them might be economical students, but they are engineers, chemists, mathematicians, and then they, for the first time in their life, need to create a new filter system. Something which is also maintained in Africa without, let's say, flying a maintenance engineer in order to get it done. And then sometimes the question asked are hard questions also for the professionals, but in the network you normally find good answers. And therefore I'm very grateful for that kind of support, and the students are too. And one word to the business advisors. I always learn one thing. In the beginning, you need to motivate them. In the end, they love it.
Yeah.
Hanno, you want to comment?
I can very much to relate to that. Thanks for the positive feedback. And I get the same. I get the same from the business advisors, that they feel they're meeting an engaged team. They want to be successful. And as I also said, for the experienced person, people like to share their knowledge. People like to see their knowledge grow and also be available. We do that very much in the company, trying to be, as you said, very unbureaucratic. If we exchange between plants around the world, anything on good experience, but also on challenging experience. So share your knowledge, making somebody else successful by your contribution. It's a huge reward. And we see that, and that's what also our business advisor get from the energy that they see within the Enactus program and the Enactus teams. And at the same time, with the interaction, with the next generation, with maybe some new thinking, different thinking, we also see how they bring that back. And they bring that back even into our own project, in our own world, something that they learned, some other approaches, which maybe were a little bit different than before. So it definitely is a learning for them, and they enjoy it.
So let me, Hanno, ask a follow-up question, as you have been now doing this for a couple of years. What's the expectations from the new generation of students? And now we're slowly getting to the purpose, a role of purpose. What is the expectations towards Covestro and expectations to organizations such as the one as you lead?
We see it's a good question. We see a very interesting development happening. Of course, let's say students, graduates, when they join the industry, are ready to join the industry. It's about, yes, you've learned a lot of things. It's theoretical. You want to use, you want to apply your knowledge, and you want to be in. That has not changed. That is what we have seen also in the past. What we see more is, first of all, also the willing to jump into something and take responsibility. Maybe take it even quicker than before, in the sense of, let's try something out, not be rewarded when it is successful, but would not be punished if it's not successful. So the willingness to take over responsibility, to take that quickly, to jump into something has raised. What's really developed very strongly over the years is the idea, yes, I want to be engaged, I want to be successful, business successful, but I also want to make sure I act responsibly, and it's in line with my personal belief, with my personal ideas about society, about environmental, about sustainability topics. So I'm looking for companies as a student which fits that. So do they have the same beliefs? Do they value the things that I value? Outside of doing something business successful, I want to do something meaningful. That's what we hear more and more. And the third aspect is about career. People talk about a career, people have career expectation, but I would say they're maybe not as linear as they used to be. Career does not always mean I need to move up in the ladder. I want to develop. And even if the develop is sometimes a little sideways, a little bit out and in, changing roles, but I want to be flexible. I want to have options. I want to have choices. And that will be then overall will be my career. So careers become, let's say, multiple, also meaning it's not only my career, it's also the career of my family, of my partner. How does it all fit together? How is that a picture? And they're looking for, is a company willing also to show some, let's say, individualistic solutions, some more flexibility, and not only one path to be successful also within the company. That's our topics which we hear more and more over the recent years.
Thanks, Hanno. And I think we're also getting slowly to the let me show you the poll quickly. But before I do that, Klaus, are from your point of view, are the students kind of applying new filters towards the companies they want to work with from your point of view?
In my view, definitely. I think companies need to recognize that purpose will play a much more important role today and in the future than it was, let's say, in the last 20 or 30 years. That does not mean that companies without purpose will not survive. But at the final end, you will see that the students you want will be much more critical than they were 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years ago. I'm now working with Enactus for 15 years, so I'm almost in the 5th generation of students turnover, because every 3 years there's a new generation of students coming with slightly different views. What I'm seeing is they want to see how they work and what they are doing and the products of the company, how that is contributing to a better world. And that's a challenge for the companies. They need to think through, is the business model they are applying for the future ready to use? Do they need to modify it? Or are there other elements which they can add and need add? What students hate is greenwashing. I think if there is one thing they hate, really hate, is if someone tries something which is at the final end not true. I can only invite all companies, walk the talk, be honest to yourselves. It's easier to say we are not there yet instead of saying, yeah, we are doing that all the time. That's a no-no.
Which I think is great, that authenticity really has a lot of value in how a company behaves and what it does. Let me now show the poll that we did on LinkedIn and Twitter, and thank you so much for participating at our poll. Let us fade the questionnaire and results of the questionnaire in. So this questionnaire and poll ended just a couple of hours ago on LinkedIn and Twitter. We got about, here we can see we had 721 votes on LinkedIn and something like 40 on Twitter. So nearly 800 votes, which I think is a big number. And we can see the results, that something that maybe I was a little bit surprised about is that purpose, of course there are more components than these 4 components to what makes up a workplace. But what are kind of your thoughts? Work-life balance topping the charts.
To be honest, I'm not surprised. Because what you're seeing is, from a purpose point of view, if you would look at these results 10 years, 20 years ago, purpose would not even exist or would not be mentioned. Currently in COVID-19 and also in the future, work-life balance will become an important topic. How to get, and you have mentioned that before, Hanno, how do you not get a career which is linear, but how can you bring the different objectives you have in life under one roof? And that is what I call work-life balance. And I have 3 kids, and it's interesting. They have started in the business. What I'm seeing is there is a much more difficult way for them to become father, mother, to build up companies, being business owners, to have interactions with customers, and at the same time to make sure that their personal life is not neglected completely. I think we had a more easier solution to that. They need to get that balance right. And I think they will do that.
Hanno. I can very much relate to that. I also see the discussion. I would even say, every poll is also part of a context. And this context also in the situation that we live, that we work right now. We also see, the work-life balance is not only the work and how you organize your work with your family. It also means, yes, in the Corona situation, we talked about where do your kids, how can your kids be safe? Can your kids be taken care of with school sometimes open, sometimes not open, childcare, these kind of things. I think everybody has just realized it's an entire package. You want to work, you want to be successful, but you want to be flexible. You also want to be safe in all meaning, healthy and safe. And I see definitely this also in that context. And for the purpose, for me, that's encouraging. We know that a purpose is important for a company to have to develop a long-term vision where you want to go. And it's very encouraging to see that people are not there for the short run, but they also look at their long-term picture and they want to make sure their choices for work, for personal life, fits that picture and fits those values. For us, that's very important. We are value-based, and we feel our people need to be value-based that join our company.
What I'm missing, to be honest, in that is one important factor which at least comes in our discussion very much to the top. And this factor is called, I want to learn my entire life. I want to be growing my entire life. I want to make new experiences in order to make sure that I'm understanding this world a little bit better than before. And maybe it's because of the audience or the short time, but if you would make a professional survey, you would definitely get that as one of the elements under the top 5. Interestingly, salary is lower end, but not unimportant.
I think we got a couple of comments in the questions regarding, of course, the platform only allows us 4 options, so we couldn't make more than that. Okay. But thanks for putting in your comments, because I do believe what you just reflected, it's the human overall that needs to be considered as a way to happiness, and I think that's very encouraging. But of course now we live in a world which is kind of changing. I mean, the whole frame of life is changing with the pandemic. So let's talk maybe a little bit more about the change in expectations and shift in values, because COVID-19 had a massive impact on the way we work. I mean, we are here in a virtual studio. So Klaus, based on your observations so far, how do students think about this new normal, and kind of how have the expectations maybe changed over the past months?
I think there are, I would say, 2 hearts in their body. The one heart is for sure missing the time-to-time presence meeting, for meeting a professor, meeting of their friends at the university. I mean, it's a different way to study digitally or to study with direct interaction. But at the same time, they are experts. They are the generation who basically grew up with digitalization. And Nico, you described how your daughter teach you what to do with YouTube and live streaming. I think I can say the same to me. I would have never started online sales with my former company if I would not have 11 or 12-year-old kids who say, we will never go shopping like you. So you better understand these trends right from the beginning. So we have already seen that digitalization created new work styles, a more agile work style, a much more open, hopefully, leadership style in order to do that. Do I see these trends for the future? Yes, but there's one important factor. And if you look at the skills for the future, which hopefully will help this world even more, it's not the technical skills. That's given. You need to have that skills. But the real skill which makes a difference will be what you call emotional intelligence. To work with others, with different people, different nations, different abilities, in order to solve in complex environments very, very difficult questions. And there I can only say we measure that, and we also benchmark our students versus others. And I'm very glad to say, specifically in these emotional intelligence, Enactus students are really outperforming their peers. And that must have to do with the experience they are doing when they make their projects, because they are working complex projects. And they learn and get also feedback that not everything works like they expected that. So to really learn out of the mistakes and then adapt the style is a very, very important factor.
Yes, it sounds fascinating, and of course puts a lot of pressure, I think, on the companies and leaders. How do you lead in an environment like this? Hanno, how can Covestro keep up with these expectations, as we just heard about from Klaus?
Yeah, I think we should realize, COVID-19 pandemic, of course, is a difficult situation. We talk a lot about what it means for the people. It also meant a lot for the economy, a lot for the companies. So the life is changing. In the beginning, and it happened to all of us, in the first months, everybody was talking about when is it over? When do we go back? I think after a while, and we've very much embraced the philosophy of saying, let's not talk about back. Let's talk about forward. What's coming? We're learning so many things. The digitalization, I hope we're not going back. We should embrace what we learned. Also on efficiency, to be honest, some things have become more efficient because people need to be disciplined to have virtual meetings. We're gaining efficiency. We're signing things electronically. So let's embrace that. Let's move on and live on that. Yes, we're all missing the personal interaction, but there also can be new models. Talking about some people can be in the office 1 week, the other, let's say, shift the other. Let's realize that people in the laboratories, in the production, they need to be all the time there. They also need the contact to their leaders, to their plant managers. Let's find new ways. I think the flexibility, the individualistic solutions, or individual solutions, I should say, are the key. So people who can adapt, they will be able to cope with the situation, and also that will make companies attractive, that they don't have, okay, we need to send everybody home or everybody needs to be back, but look, what is the right thing for everybody to do? What are the individual solutions, and work for that, and let's deal with the situation on an individual basis. That breadth, which is of course complex, which takes a lot from leadership, but that will be successful. So we like to talk about forward, the new better normal, and let's not forget where we come from, but let's not talk about going backwards.
Mm-hmm. So if you're watching this and you are an employee or a leader, please write your comments and questions in the box below, and we'll get to them shortly. But Hanno, just building up on what you just said, now considering all the changes in the workplace, what does a leader need to bring to the table these days to be successful, also as a leader? I mean, is it so that the old school is no longer working?
I wouldn't talk about old school, new school. What I would say, leadership, we all know, it's not something you pick up and you have it, but you develop it. It develops over a career. And of course, what happens in your career has a huge impact on your leadership. So we all are experiencing the situation. We all don't know what's happening. I believe those who are able to adapt quickly, to be flexible, not to know, to live with the uncertainty, to live with the ambiguity, to change things as they have to go, and at the same time, don't go with schematic approaches, be empathic, be flexible, be a big listener and a good communicator, those will be successful. But it's all about the adapting, all about looking for the situation and also looking for the individual needs. That will make leaders successful. Yes, it's disappointing for people who feel there will be a scheme. There's no scheme if we don't know what the business will be in 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Hanno. And Klaus, you have been managing and leading various organizations. So what's your view on this? And from your point of view, what are graduates looking upon as they start into their professional careers, reflecting on what Hanno just said?
I think for me, a good leader, first of all, is authentic and empathetic. He wants to work with people, not telling people what to do. And that will not change. That hasn't changed in the past and will not change in the future. What will change is that people will look much more, does he walk the talk? Does he really live what he is praying? And if there is purpose, if there is values, if there is culture of a company, does he represent that? Does he, in his actions, really, do I see that? Can I look at him and know that he will decide according to these values, according to that purpose? That makes, in my view, leaders very much authentic. Now, to your second question, what do graduates expect? As I said, purpose, value, culture of a company will play a very, very important role. I mean, I know in our talks, when we have career talks, also in Enactus, and it's fascinating if the companies then are applying for, let's say, a seat where they talk. The questions were always, will they only show the company video, or can we talk with the people directly? So you see the difference. In the past, all videos were looking the same. That will not be good enough. So purpose, value, culture is important. For sure, they look for good jobs and opportunities to grow. And opportunities to grow do not mean linear careers. That does not exclude careers, but it's a flexibility, Hanno, you have described, which is expected from companies and from also employers. And the third thing, which is not negligible, and I listen to my daughter currently, who has just started in January the first job, it is the people surrounding. It is how the boss is acting. It is which leadership styles are really used. Do I have the fair a chance that my message or my knowledge is valued, or do I have always the feeling I only need to function? If that is the case, you very quickly notice people will look to alternatives. And that is one thing we as companies need to recognize. The market is turning more and more that top graduates have 20 chances to select a company. I think 20 years ago, it was slightly different. So we have a market which is much more favorable to the top graduates of a university.
So that's very encouraging. Certainly, we are streaming live. We're real, authentic managers and leaders from the company. So this is not a corporate video. I can guarantee you. Klaus, a quick follow-up question on your side. Do universities do enough to kind of promote and help the students to get up to speed on the skills? Do you feel the universities are doing enough? And of course, if you are a student, please write your commentary in the box below. And how does Enactus, promote this? What is the value of Enactus to kind of promote these skills going forward?
I think all universities try their best currently to digitalize their offer and become as fast as possible also effective again in this world. But there are huge differences. I mean, I will not tell you the universities, but we have talks that people say, but I have the same university lecture for quite some time. Why should I change? Now, we all know a digital lecture is a different one than a personal lecture. And so you need to think through how to make it work. In total, I cannot judge. I see the big efforts which all universities are taking in order to become better and deal with the situation. But what I'm missing really is, and that is the experience Enactus can provide, that is the learning and experimental platform which you need in order to test your skills, to figure out what can you do better, what can you do less good. Only that and the feedback of your teammates will make a difference to your life. And honestly, they are taken much more seriously than if an old man like myself will give feedback. Because if you are in a team and you see things are not working, then the question is why? And normally you cannot point on others. It's normally you as part of the total thing. So leadership needs, in my view, experience, interaction with teams. It needs learning from the mistakes you are doing. Only via that you become a better person, and also you can deal in the next situation, hopefully in a different way. And for sure, coaching helps. And there we try with the business advisors our utmost. But as I said, the coaching of the team members is much more valuable normally to the students.
So, Hanno, I know you have graduated from the university a couple of years ago, so you have some experience between you graduated and now. But Hanno, is there anything you would do differently if you were just starting your professional career? And any advice you would give to the students? And after that, I promise you, we go to the questions.
Yeah, I would relate to something that Klaus said on the learning yourselves, on the reflecting yourselves. It's important. You always reflect on, okay, how successful was I? And you see if your projects are successful, so you get that feedback. What needs to be on equal value is the feedback on the how. How did I do? How did I act with the people? How did I lead? And that's something I would probably start even earlier and would start even more systematically to look for people, whether they be my bosses, the people that I lead, my peers, and systematically ask for feedback and use those for self-reflection. How can I do better? How can I do things maybe in a different way to be more successful in the future and develop on yourselves? I don't think you can start that early enough. I would start that day one entering a new corporation.
Thanks, Hanno. That sounds like words from a wise man. I know you guys are busy, so I just want to make sure that we get the community the opportunity to ask you questions. I know, Hanno, you have a lot of followers on Instagram, so let's see whether we can get those questions now answered. Let's blend in the first one. I think this is for Hanno. We can see the question in the wonderful table below. What is the best way to show your potential and eventually climb up the corporate ladder?
If it wasn't all that simple, but as I mentioned before, this is not about one ladder and one way up. To be successful in the workplace, take the responsibility, take the accountability, move things up, be flexible on things that you'll be doing. You will be seen. Many decisions are being worked out as teams. One of the successful things also, if you look at really at developing, is also to being flexible on options. You might get an offer for something which is an 80-20 on what you desired next. I think you should judge from your heart and take it with both hands. Many people have been successful who did not have in mind a very clear path what will happen in the next 15 years. They were determined, but the rest also, they went for opportunities on the positive sense.
Maybe Klaus, you want to comment on that, because you have been leading organizations as well. What's your advice?
I mean, do what you do full-heartedly. That is what I would tell you. And let me really explain what I did. I'm an old mathematician and I love mathematics. So what I did, I stayed at the university and I made things which I loved and nobody else wanted to use. So what do you do then? You go to IT. Yes, I learned a little bit of programming languages. So I started at Procter & Gamble and started in IT. 2 years later, I found that boring. So I went to my boss and say, hey, come on, is there another challenge for myself? So they sent me to production. So I had the chance to learn logistics, I had the chance to learn production, and I had a chance to build up IT in a production environment. Great experience. 2 years later, I was again bored. And I thought, where are the decisions made in this organization? So finally, a few people believed I should go to marketing and sales. And I had no clue what it is all about. That is the trust level, Hanno, you mentioned. But they saw something in me I couldn't see. So I went to sales and marketing, and I can say there I was right. Yeah, and then the ladder was very quickly moving up to board levels, to general manager levels, to leading worldwide organizations. And it came always earlier. I was very often surprised that they believed now it's time for the next one. So to summarize it, you need a little bit of luck. Don't underestimate that. But I can only say if you put the full heart in and you are open enough to learn from your mistakes and listen to others, you will be successful.
Cool. Thanks. Next question.
Okay.
Is coming from Matteo. Thanks, Matteo, for posing the question. Isn't leadership about understanding all details of the areas you manage? How else would you know about your team's needs and barriers? Who wants to go first?
Let me start maybe. To be honest, if I would understand all details about a project a team is leading, that's a big challenge, because then I'm going into the position basically of others, and I most probably will tell myself, you could do it better than all the others. That's not my understanding of leadership. I need to understand what the team needs in order to be successful and what the barriers are around them and how I can help them to become even more successful. Knowing all the details is sometimes counterproductive.
I would very much agree with that. The best leadership is actually not managing the most intensively. It's the art of leadership is, if somebody leads really well, you might not even see that he's leading. He's just giving the little things that the team is missing, the little piece of a push into a direction, maybe the resource that the team was missing, or the reflection on something, and being the catalyst that the team actually reflects. The team will be successful with the leader very much in the background, but with these, let's say, distinct influences. That for me is the art of leadership, not managing somebody.
Thanks. And I mean, to the audience, these guys actually know what they're talking about because they have been leading large organizations for quite a while. So you can take them on their word. Let's go to the last question before we have to close down the broadcast. I think this is a great question. How does Covestro ensure that young talents do not feel small in such a big corporation? Hanno, this one is for you.
No reason to feel small. We have great talents. We talked a lot about challenges today that are needed. Challenges in the situation of the economics. Challenges like turning a company from a linear to a fully circular, and combine that with entrepreneurship, something that Enactus develops people on. This, on the other hand, we need people to be part of the solution. So there's a lot of chemistry, there's a lot of engineering needed to make that happen. People can be proud what they bring to the table. Working with a team, you will have your team, your family that you work with. You don't feel that there's 14,000, 17,000, 25,000 people who are, however big the company is around you. You will be in your team and you will build in your network. Try not to be thinking hierarchically, then you also will not see that something is hierarchical. That's the key. And by having close contacts to a large network will make you home very, very quickly and make you part more of a family than of a large corporation.
Thanks, Hanno. And because we have such an active audience, we want to take one more question. I promise you.
Sure.
And then we'll let you go. Thanks again for posing these questions. This is what real life interaction is all about. Another great question, I think, and let's go with Klaus first. Do you think a PhD, I mean, you guys are both highly educated guys. Do you think a PhD over a master's degree is mandatory nowadays? What do you say, Klaus?
To be honest, it wasn't mandatory in the past, and it will also not be mandatory in the future. It's the question whether you feel you want to take a certain topic and lead it to the end of the know-how, of the knowledge you have. If you do not feel that kind of ambition, don't do a PhD at the final end, because yes, the doctor might be ending up in a slightly higher salary in the beginning, but 3 years later, nobody will care about. What is for me interesting is someone who makes a PhD at least has shown that he wants to go deep down in certain topics because he likes the topics. He has an ambition for that. And that sometimes is also necessary in an environment of a business. Now, I think with the master and the energy, motivation, maybe as Enactus alumni, you are very well prepared for the work life in front of you. It's up to you.
Cool. Hanno, by the way,
I would also say, yeah.
I have only a master's degree, so I can't discuss it.
Similar to what we said before, I would say there's not one size fits all. What do you really want to be? What are you bringing to the table? Yes, if you want to be a deep down researcher, at least for the first start of the career, a PhD shows that you've been able to, let's say as a chemist, to deal with a very specific topics over 3 to 5 years. We have chemists that join product management. Maybe here, something more like an MBA would be much more helpful than to have a PhD. So what do you want to be, what you bring to the table? And as Klaus says, other things also count what you bring to the table. Having been engaged in Enactus shows very much what you bring to the table.
I would love to give you one anecdote out of my life, because my mom called me when I started in sales and marketing at Procter & Gamble after IT and production and said, "Did I let you make a PhD in order to sell detergents?" So you see, even with a PhD, you can be successful in marketing and sales. That's nothing which is preventing you.
These are great anecdotes. Klaus, do you guys have one more time for one more question?
Please, let's see the questions.
Interesting question, I think. Can Covestro take some action in invoking curiosity at an earlier stage in younger students so that when they go to college, they have a plan? This one is from Chimney. Thanks you, Chimney. What do you say, Hanno?
Can we invoke curiosity in an earlier stage in younger students? I would say being a student should be about curiosity. And yes, we will like to see that. That's why we like those interactions with the university networks that we talked about today, to see, do they have the curiosity to look outside of the box, outside of the table, what else is there to shape themselves. But for us, as I mentioned before, it's a value. We want people also after 35 years to be curious in our company and try something new and say, why not? Let's solve this problem that used to be a natural law, but guess what? It's not a natural law. We just need a different approach and we find a new solution. The curiosity, we like to see our people to live throughout their entire life.
I think we are both sharing that view on students, but I'm also with Enactus currently working on a program. Can we start with innovation and entrepreneurship even at gymnasium in Germany or at early college? Because I think if you implant the idea of getting an own platform for experiences and you have good experiences, that will help you to have maybe a different perspective on life, and their partnerships can help in the future.
Cool. Thank you both so much for taking time out to chat with our audience. So thank you, Klaus. Thank you, Hanno, for explaining your views and also answering the great questions. Stay safe and stay healthy.
I will
Thank
do
you all.
Thank you all, and I will say Happy Nikolaus, like we say in Germany. Everything is fine. Good.
Thank you for all of your engagement and thank you for the questions.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay healthy.
So thank you very much for our wonderful audience again for joining this episode, and thanks again for your great questions. We will be again on air this Thursday, this time live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We'll talk with Mark Turley from the NHL hockey team Pittsburgh Penguins and Bob Walker from Covestro about innovation and safety in ice hockey and the effects of the pandemic. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 8 p.m. Central European Time. So tune in, stay safe, and stay healthy. Bye-bye.